With 7 weeks to go to the Dublin Marathon, we have brought the Fantastic Four back on a Monday episode because there is so much to get through, and myself and Eric are getting so much feedback. And looking at all the faces in front of me now, it's really hard to always know where to start. But I know, and Eric, this is the same with you because I've seen you suffer in a lot of races. I know my second marathon I did, at the end of it, I was that bad. Your man offered me a wheelchair, and I said no because it's the only marathon I've ever been to that my mammy was there, and I couldn't rock up to my mammy in a wheelchair, giving her a heart attack and stuff like that. I've done 80k eco trails where I've been limping and stuff afterwards, going to your birthday party, Eric, and having your friends beat me up because I couldn't move off the chair, but thank you for that as well. But I've never, good for you. I've never actually had to go to hospital after a race or event or anything like that or been in a bad way. But Shane, what is going on, pal? What is going on?
Oh, Jesus, kind of hoping you wouldn't bring that up now.
What do you mean? What do you mean you were kind of hoping? You put it on Instagram, for fuck's sake.
I suppose. I'm trying to forget the last couple of weeks, to be honest with you. So I've been through it the last couple of weeks.
Seán's intro alluded to you being soft because he made himself out to be really tough for not going to hospital. So go on, Shane. Tell us how soft Shane ended up in hospital after a little run.
Yeah, so the last couple of weeks I've just been kind of sick, and it all started, well, my mum was sick and I was like, just get away from me, and she kind of passed it on to me, and geez, I've been trying to shake it since and I just can't get rid of it. So I've kind of been abandoning sessions, cutting long runs short, and it's been a bit frustrating. But then kind of took a load of recovery, a load of time off in prep for my half marathon last Sunday, and I was feeling really good. I thought I was kind of back to normal, to be honest, and I was standing on the start line buzzing. It just didn't last too long. Kind of 2-3k and I started to get dizzy. Probably should have dropped out, to be honest. Made it 10 mile, stepped off the road for a while because the dizziness just couldn't get rid of it, and I eventually finished. But yeah, I was in a bad way, and I went to doctor when I came home, and the doctor sent me up to hospital. To be honest, I didn't think I really needed to go to the hospital, but sure, I'm not a doctor, so eventually I went, and yeah, they were poking me, looking for blood and drips and everything. And to be honest, I was just more worried about having a bad race than I was about my health. And like every doctor was saying, like, oh, you need to take a step back for a while. And like I was telling, geez, this fella hasn't a clue at all, having none of it. Yeah, I eventually found a doctor that told me, oh, you can still run, but you need to pull it back, and intensity-wise a good bit for a while. It's like sounding more of what I want to hear, but yeah, I pulled it back a small bit and done 30k yesterday with a bit of work for the first time, and I feel like I'm kind of back to normal now. I hope I'm back to normal. So let's see how the next couple of weeks go.
Shane, to touch on, we've covered obviously in the last couple of episodes, you have done a lot of mileage. You're really putting up the higher miles. You're really pushing yourself to the limits. Does that maintain a little bit of confidence? Because a lot of people suffer setbacks in a training program. This is obviously quite a significant one to get to a point where carrying a fever, illness, flu, whatever it is, sometimes it hangs around for a month. You know, we've all had that cough that just seems to be with you for about 2 months, or, you know, that illness that wipes you out. I had something when I arrived here, something similar. And every time I tried to bring my heart rate above 140, I got this dizzy spell, and it stuck with me for about 10 days, and it wasn't nice. And it can feel like you're going nowhere in your training. Having done so much and having suffered this, how do you feel about your progress? How do you feel about training and where you are, and how is your confidence levels now?
Yeah, it's been difficult, but I think the last 4 weeks are going to stick with me mentality wise. Like the last 4 weeks are going to be better for my mentality than any 100-kilometer week could ever be. Obviously it's been frustrating, but I still think I'm on the right path. Like yesterday, 30k I felt unbelievable compared to last week in the half marathon. It just all went pear-shaped. I still really think that I have a good shot at breaking 3 hours, to be honest. I think I'm still pretty confident, to be honest. Like I've had a couple of meltdowns over the last couple of weeks, and Kevin has kind of told me to calm down a bit and just relax. So just trying to take his advice and just see what the next couple of weeks bring.
Is there something as well to be said for, sometimes it's voluntary, sometimes it's involuntary, but a rest period sometimes for the body can be perfect. I know when you've gone from feeling like you were a car trying to drive on 2 wheels to now having 4 wheels, obviously it feels so much nicer to not be nearly dying in a race to taking on a 30k. can the rest period be seen as a positive? Is it going to give you a little bit more energy now to maybe attack this last couple of weeks and the marathon itself?
I think so. I think it's brought a bigger fire, to be honest. I think I'm just ready to really go and attack this next 5 weeks. Like, I'm just buzzing to get out the door now, to be honest. I've been so frustrated. And I know the last couple of weeks is just getting back out the door now. And I'm still really confident that I can go and do it.
Shane, I was going to ask this later on in the podcast, but then you mentioned there 5 weeks. With Kevin there, do you have a plan for another race between now and 7 weeks to marathon, or is it just 5 weeks, build it up, and then pull back the last 2 weeks tapering?
No, jeez, I don't want to see another start line for a while.
That's very fair. That's very fair. Well, this podcast is about the road to the Dublin Marathon, and Dublin is a very key word there for a number of reasons. One of them is because on this road, few people do a marathon during it. Aoife, you happened to do a marathon there a couple of weeks ago. Talk to us about it. What happened?
It was kind of an accidental marathon, really. There was our two people in our running group, Catherine and Keith Delahunty, had organised this 24-hour memorial run for Catherine's mum. It was her first anniversary, and they were raising money for motor neurons. So Catherine and Keith were doing the full 24 hours, and they said to the running group, look, lads, will you come over, do a little bit? So I said, right, I'll do the night shift. So I went over, I said, there was 25k on the plan that day. I said, look, we'll be going a bit slower, so I'll probably do 25, 27. I got to 27 and I said, sure, we may as well round it up to 30. And then when I got to 30k, I said, sure, we may as well finish it off. The sun is starting to rise now. You know, we may as well get to 42. And it was just like sunrise when we were coming into those last few kilometres. It was brilliant. Catherine did 120 kilometres in 24 hours. Keith did 111, I think. And he hadn't even ran a marathon before. So like amazing achievement. And there was a lot of accidental marathons around that weekend. So it was, you know, a good cause and a good vibe. And it was slow. Like we stopped every 5 kilometres for a cup of tea. Like there was no pressure. So yeah, it's a nice feeling to know I have a marathon in my legs. The trick now is the pace for Dublin. But I know I can get through 42 kilometres, handy enough.
Aoife, remind me to never go on a night out with you ever. Can I ask then about, because obviously you've been touching on a lot of the training, the group itself. You're very much a part of a group, Aoife. The group is keeping you going. You're training. You're doing your intervals, your long intervals. I think I seen you posting about. I know you were taking your time. It was through the night. You were tired. Mentally being tired is a good thing, because to be able to push through while tired, now you're surrounded by people. It was enjoyable. It was for a great cause. So there's other motivation factors there. Were you a little bit nervous going, I've done a marathon and I still have a training block with a few interval sessions? Or were you rested enough now to train? Because the biggest fear people have is doing too much and then trying to maintain that momentum into the marathon. How are you feeling about all that?
Yeah, I was starting to question, was it the right decision when I was at about 35k? Like, am I going to be able to get back into training on Monday? And I think we were going slow enough. It was fine. But talking about that mental element, I did a half marathon last weekend, and like it was a race effort. You know, I was really pushing myself, and the lessons I learned from that, like I'm not scared of a half marathon. That distance doesn't bother me, but to run it at pace, like from 3-4k in, the mental demons started coming, and like it's nearly a physical response. You get this whole visceral, like you were talking about it, Eric, about being on the treadmill and like I have to stop, I have to stop, I have to stop, and getting that feeling, and your brain is shouting at you. And I only discovered last year on a training run that you can actually keep running through that. I didn't know that before. And when I was training for my first few marathons, I'd get to that point where your head is screaming, stop, stop, stop. So I'd stop and walk, because I thought, like, I have another hour to do. I can't sustain this for. So I was actually with my coach on a training run last year, and I said, like, he was chatting away and lovely chat. And I was like, I can't hear you. The voices in my head are too loud telling me to stop. And he was like, oh, just breathe. And it passed after about 30 seconds. I was like, oh, I'm actually okay. So in this half marathon, like that hadn't came at me for a long time, probably since last year's training. So in the half marathon, about 4k, and that real visceral, like, oh, what am I doing? It's too much. I need to stop. And I was like, okay, it's a wave. Recognize it. It's just going to pass. And it passes and you can get through it. So I think for people who are starting out in their marathon journey, to actually, it probably seems very obvious, but I didn't know that passes and you can keep going through it. So that was a big lesson to learn, but you have to practice that because these waves of like self-doubt keep coming and it's really tiring to keep fighting them off. So you have to practice that and be able to breathe through it and have the mantras and have the just the mental stamina to keep going through them. And the plan in Dublin, like they will come at me in Dublin, I know, but I'm hoping with the practice they won't come at me until I'm at 20 miles and then we'll battle the demons for the last, 10 or 12K.
And just to remind people, this one for you is about, it's a pace goal this time. You have, as you said, completed the distance many times. Has that half marathon given you confidence? Is that the right time? Fighting a few demons early, running at pace for a half marathon, has it given you confidence? Has it made you think, oh, this is a big task? Or how are you feeling after it?
Yeah, I feel good physically wise. Like we did some training sessions at the start of August and repeated the sessions again late in August. And I can see the improvement. I can see my physical fitness is coming along great. But I do feel like I need to get to that place where I'm practicing the mental element of it a few more times before I get to Dublin, because I don't think I've nailed that mental strength yet. So even we were doing our 6x5K repeats yesterday, and it was about 27K in, so there's only 3K left to go on the last rep, and that mental element started coming in, and I want to stop, this is too hard. And I kind of tried to reframe it of like, this is why I did the other 5 reps of was so I could get to this point, and this is what I need to practice. Like I have a good bit of, for the pace I want to run, and physically training has gone very well. So the mental training is my key aspect now over the next few weeks.
I'm going to have to record myself giving you abuse, and you can just play it for that last 5K. That'll get you over the line.
Eric, abusing yourself so much, that only works through a tactic for yourself, giving yourself all
Wait
that
until you
abuse.
see what I have in store for Aoife, God love her.
But that is so true, Aoife, going back to the importance of that long run, because myself and Eric have talked many times on the podcast, the first couple of K, you're kind of like, oh, what am I doing here? It's not kicking. But then it kicks in, and it's getting to that point where there's going to be a time where your body's going to want you to stop, and it's just pushing through that last couple of K is what makes it breaks it. Because I think during the marathon, it happens to everyone at some stage. But you don't want that second time happen to you in the first half of the race, because then you've got a long race ahead of you. If it happens near the end, like you said, that 20-mile battle is like, okay, the last 10, you can kind of try and talk yourself through it. Conor, we had a cup of cardio, had a mad weekend there last weekend. What was going on?
Yeah, so I suppose it was last time we were on the call was chatting about it, is that more than a run took place there the weekend. So yeah, that was busy enough for myself, more so planning than running. But I got 15K in, which was actually my longest run to date so far, because obviously I was dealing with that sort of knee issue and pain, but seems to have cleared now. So I was going to try go for 20. I initially wanted to do 30, but I said no, I'd be just pushing myself for no reason. Like it'd probably be silly and probably just set me back. So I was able to get 15 in between organising and getting everyone off on their paces and stuff like that. So yeah, it was busy enough. We had 4 lads sign up for the 60K, and one of them got it done. Another chap got 55 done, but he had a 2-hour hiatus in between. He had to teach people in the gym for 2 hours, so he got up at 5 a.m, done his 2 hours, then trained lads for 2 hours, then came and met us, and he was running like sub 5 kilometers to try get it done in time. But he got to 55, but he's a machine, that fella. But yeah, it was a good event, good cause.
Conor, can I ask then about your journey? Obviously, the last time we spoke, you were going through the little bit of the niggles, the injuries, the am I injured, am I not injured, and working your way through that. What was it like coming out the other side of that? And obviously, I'm going to ask a follow-up question. What's it like seeing everyone's Stravas and the 18 miles and the 20 miles, and you're just doing your 15K, wondering, should I be running further? What's going through your mind? One, post-injury, coming through it, you have obviously been very busy. And then, are you nervous looking at other people? Is comparison killing you?
So to answer the first part of that, coming out of it, I was delighted. Like, when you're just, when you're running and there's like even a level 1, 2 sort of pain, you're like, oh, when is this just going to fade? Like, am I ever going to be better? And then when it was sort of all right and I'm running on the concrete and putting in a bit of pace, I was just sort of running like, oh, thank God, like, here we go. Then, yes, I suppose seeing other people doing the mileage and the countdown, I don't know what app it is that I have on my like newsletter or whatever, keeps sending me like 8 weeks, 9 weeks. I was like, oh shit, this is getting real. So yeah, this week is, or sorry, the last week was sort of my proper full week sort of training, hitting all my sessions, like, because obviously I was away then for 2 weeks in Mallorca, and then obviously prior to that I was sort of injured. But yeah, like now I'm like, right, just dial in, should be all right. Maybe the time goal mightn't happen, but I suppose I said I'd give myself maybe another couple of weeks and I'll have a clearer vision, on if that time goal is still suitable, or maybe just take it back a notch, that kind of way.
Sometimes people think when it comes to this stage, when they've missed that portion of the training element, that a taper is not really there for them because they haven't really peaked in that kind of element. What is your take on that one, and what is your plan around the next few weeks and training into this marathon, but being rested enough to take on the start line?
I suppose, yeah, like I'll just stick to the plan now from here on out, and like I'll still do the taper, like, that kind of way. Maybe, I suppose, like, I probably won't do full taper. Like, I know it's the plan I'm on is sort of tapers off towards the last 2 weeks, and it worked well for me in Barcelona, where I got sort of an extra long run in when it was like at the beginning of the taper stage. So I'll probably sort of do something similar to that again, because that, especially for Barcelona, worked really well for me in terms of like headspace, like, that sort of doubt you always have, like you're trying to trust the plan, but if you've never been there before, you're like, is it going to work?
Yeah.
So that worked out for me well the last time. So I'll probably do something similar, especially after missing a good couple of weeks of actual training, kind of way.
And it is something people can panic and go, listen, I need to train all the way up to the day of the marathon. But what they don't realize, they need to store the energy, they need to recover. I suppose over the next couple of weeks, what people are going to find is they're at their most fatigued, they're tired all the time. And it's trying to get that body into as good a shape as possible to get onto that start line with as much energy and enthusiasm as possible as well.
He didn't really follow up with a question there, did he?
No, I was hoping Conor would do something.
I'll ask a question. I'll follow that up with a question, Conor. What was your long run leading that 2-week taper before Barcelona? What distance was it? And you plan to look at the same distance and pace in 5 weeks' time?
Yeah, before Barcelona, I think it was about 30k. It was more minutes based, but yeah, I covered about 30k, nearly probably 31, and that was actually my longest run on the plan. So yeah, probably go for something similar like that. Should be like the time goal it's close enough. Like, I know I want to stay around what I got in Barcelona, which is what I was training for. So sort of mileage and training is nearly very much the same. Like,
when you say minutes based, there's a theory I've heard. I think it's one of the Jack Daniels books, not the one that in your bar.
Whoa, what kind? No, you're talking to Conor here. You go easy. You could relapse.
But the theory on it was long run no more than two and a half hours. Is that what you're thinking? Somewhere 2.5, 3, any more than that, diminishing returns when you say minute based?
Yeah, it was about 3 hours of a run, I think it was. Yeah, roughly like that. There was anything over that, which again sort of had me doubting it. Like, I could be running for 4 hours here, maybe even longer. Like, should I, like, is it distance or time? And I suppose it's like, well, like, I don't know. Some people might choose to cover the distance to make themselves feel better, or if you just cover the time. Like, if you can run for 3.5 hours, you're going to run that in Dublin, hopefully, kind of way. Or you could run 42 kilometers, like.
Yeah, it's definitely a question that a lot of people are going to have to answer in the next couple of weeks, depending on their plan. Where do they go? If you go 3.5 hours and you've got your 35, you got 35k in, whatever it is, it's like, do you recover in time for the Dublin Marathon? And most of us here have an idea what the long run is and tapering and getting through that because we've all done marathons before. But Cliodhna, what are you planning? How's your last couple of weeks of training gone before your first marathon coming up in 7 weeks' time?
So yeah, not great. I'm on the injured, well, potentially on the injured list now as well. So training had been going really, really well. I hadn't missed a session. Paces were all going to plan. So I kind of messed up. And do you know what? I was listening to your podcast about you screwing up, and I was like, I'll never do that. and then I went and did it. So sometimes I do a strength session the same day as a run just to save my rest days, to have clean rest days where you're not getting into the gym. And normally I run from the gym, but shit happened at home. It didn't work. I had to run first and then did the gym after. And I was struggling doing Bulgarian split squats, and I kind of went, I'll finish them out, see how I go. I was grand. Went for a 20-minute run the next day because I was racing on the Saturday. So that was the Thursday. I had a bit of a niggle in the hamstring on the Friday, and I went, that is grand. I'm probably just sore from the weights and from the strength session. And it wasn't an A race on the Saturday, obviously. So I was able, I had ran a full week's training. So I raced on Saturday, and it was a 10K here. Felt actually very comfortable, ran really well, was very happy with myself, but I could kind of feel it. But when you warm up, you don't really know. You get very good at ignoring. I don't know, did I ignore? I'm not really sure. So that was Saturday night. And then I was to run about between 12 and 15 miles the next morning. So I kind of 10 miles ran with the race, the warm up and the cool down. And then I was to finish the guts of a marathon the next morning. So might have hobbled for the first 2 miles of the warm up when I was out and then I warmed up and I was fine. And then I got to about 13 and I went, this might be a bit stupid. So I cut it short and I came home with 13 miles and then woke up Monday and I knew I was sore. So went to a physio on Tuesday. He said it's grade 1 hamstring tear. So no running for the week. I used to race. I used to do cycling racing and I would have done triathlon. So I have a turbo trainer. So I just straight away switched to the bike for the week. And yeah, when he tested the hamstring, it seemed like there's no difference between the two sides. So force-wise and all that, it seems fine, but there's just a niggle there. So he said sometimes there can be a neural issue. Sometimes there's a bit of neurological stuff there rather than it actually being the muscle. But I don't know. I ran a tester on Saturday. I ran 3K and I could feel it, but it's no worse. And then I ran 5K on Sunday, and again, I didn't run today now. So I don't really know where I am at the moment. I'm down it's a very easy week. It's like 3 miles, kind of 4 miles for the week. So I guess I don't know what I'm going to do. Do I run and follow the plan? It's all very, very simple, and it's kind of leading to a 16 or 17 mile run on Sunday if I can hold up for the week. But I'm only running like 3s and 4s when I would my midday runs or midweek runs would be like 6 miles, 7 miles. It's all over. They're all over 10K. Sometimes it can be, and then there's usually a speed session as well. So I'm losing all of that aerobic, and I'm losing the fast stuff as well. So I kind of have to make a decision. Will I top up the runs with bike? If that makes sense.
If you're looking for advice, my advice is don't listen to Seán.
Yes, well, my question is, because this is why I've suffered with it, because
And
you
if it's
touched on there,
neurological, because you've been listening to Seán, that even proves my point. You're all injured now because you're listening to Seán.
Cheers, man. Can I ask on that? Because you seem to really want to get back to obviously you want to get back to running the marathon coming up. Me and Eric have talked. I can't even remember if this is on an intro or off the podcast. I'm like, I just don't feel the same benefits on the bike at all compared to running or like aerobically anything. I just don't feel it unless I have to really, really push hard in that. And then my legs just die. The lactic acid build up, and I can't get my heart rate anyway up high on it. But we've had people on the podcast that have been like, I haven't ran for 4, 5, 6 months. I've kept the bike going and my running fitness hasn't dropped. Do you feel, and because you've turbo training, you've done the racing and all the rest, do you feel the same with the bike, or is it like, I need to get specific with the running to get back to running?
I suppose I'd be confident that I could definitely maintain the aerobic base for sure on the bike. Like obviously your heart rate isn't going to be the same because you're not weight bearing, so it's going to be a lower heart rate. But you'd have an idea from your RP. You know, like if you have an RPE scale, it's a very, like if you think about your easy runs, if you rate that at a 4, well then that's kind of where that's what you should be feeling on the bike as well. So I'd be confident enough that I could keep myself in some shape. I just don't know how well. I'd need to work on the efforts. I think I'd need to put a bit of work into getting the efforts at the heart rate right for the effort. So if I had just say for argument's sake, if I had I was supposed to do a 7 by 1K at 10 kilometer pace last week. So I tried to mimic that as best I could on the bike, knowing how I'd feel if I was running 1K at 10K pace. I was trying to, just the RPE is what would keep you right there. But I would be comfortable on the bike. I know technically I'm okay on the bike, so I'm not afraid of it. And I know, like and I'm happy enough to sit on the bike for an hour and a half. I'll just fire Netflix up or something and do that. So I know I'd be in there or thereabouts. But I mean, I'm a runner, not a cyclist. So obviously I want to get back on the road. But I'm afraid if I push now, like if I mind myself now, I'll have only missed 2 weeks of running. But if I push, I could end up ball burst, as they say. So I'm not really sure. It's kind of day by day and see how I go.
Yeah, for me on that one, I think when you switch in, I think what you've done in terms of like, you're not going to forget how to run in the next 3 weeks. Your fitness won't necessarily die off, particularly because you're keeping it going. But I think transitioning into heart rate zones and efforts for periods of time is definitely going to maintain. It's something that when I was trying to do an Ironman in 16 weeks, I couldn't do all of the training. So my running couldn't be 20Ks and 30Ks, but the bike was a hell of a lot longer because it was easier on the joints. It was easier on everything. And I'm not saying that is how you should do it, but in all of the experience I've had with triathlon coaches and stuff, they've always been kicking me onto the bike instead of doing easy runs. It was always, well, don't go and do 10 miles easy, get on the bike and save the legs. And then I want you to do a hard effort. So through some of the coaching I received and advice I received, it was definitely, if it's the 10 mile or the over 10K easy runs you're worried about missing, I definitely be doing them on the bike, time wise, and maybe a little bit more as long as your RPE is in there, because now it's just about your own confidence and your own head, because your fitness isn't going to go, you're definitely going to maintain, and as long as you're staying injury free for as long as possible, that's probably the best thing to do. And with the advice of the physio of when you're ready to take on the longer miles, then you'll know. But I think you should back yourself with the bike. You have the experience of triathlon. You know how to use the bike. You know how to push. And as long as it's not hurting or jeopardizing the ability to run again, I think you're on the right track.
Yeah, I think that's probably the right way to go. But like this week, I'm down to do 3-mile runs. So I probably psychologically will need to top that up because I won't feel like it's enough.
Oh, yeah.
So that's probably what I'll
And
probably do this week. And then the problem is my physio, his wife had a baby as well. So he's gone off the rate. He's gone off the radar.
So selfish.
Couldn't
so
I
selfish.
call
Some
This
this?
goes to a
some
marathon. How
people-
dare he?
And never mind that. Did you not know we're doing a podcast? God's sake.
I know, yeah.
Off season for stuff like that.
But
Come on now.
the only thing I'd be considering is which is better. Is it an easy run? So should you be doing like the brick type session? Should you be cycling first for the hour and then taking it on with tired legs? Or because you're carrying the injury, maybe you should start with the run.
Yeah, I think
And
so.
then if all is feeling good, move on to the bike. So those are the type of questions you need to ask yourself, the physio, to kind of, one, manage the mental battle of I need to be doing more.
Mhm.
When we've just talked about sometimes recovery can actually give you that little boost as well to attack the next weeks as well. So it's one you'll have to manage and make sure you're recovering with. But it's for me anyway, I understand, because when you feel like you're not doing enough, it's when you stand on the start line of a marathon, which is something you're going to do, we hope. It's knowing you've done the miles and knowing you've put in the effort gives a little bit of peace when you get there to go, well, it is what it is now. We'll see how it goes. So yeah, it's definitely one to contend with, but always make sure you're able to train the next day. That's the most important thing over the next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Cliodhna, can you just talk there about what you meant by topping up? I know I have an idea what you meant, but just for someone listening, on topping up on the bike for 3 miles on a run that you're supposed to do. And when you're back in the bike, do you feel fit back in the bike? So, for example, I touched the bike once this year doing Quest, then got injured, got a bike on cheap, cycled the first time 30 minutes, and I thought it'd never end. I'm like, this is horrible. The legs just felt awful. And I was going slow. My heart rate said 110, but my legs were like, RPE was like 8, 9, 10 out of 10. No, it wasn't 8 and 10. That's an exaggeration. But it was 7 or 8 out of 10 RPE, but the heart rate was doing 110. Like, it was grand. So I wasn't getting aerobically any better. It just felt like crap. So how did you feel on it? And what do you mean by topping up the miles when you're going on the bike, going from a run instead?
Now, Seán's bike had 3 wheels and a picture of Bob the Builder on the front, so
And streamers hanging out of the handlebars.
streamers hanging out of it.
Streamers make it go faster.
I would say, Seán, that's psychological on your part too. Like this, like if you were RPE of 10 at 110, like that's bollocks. Pardon, you know what I mean? There's no way.
Yeah,
you know
I
what I
mean-
mean?
Cliodhna, tell them how
Sorry.
you really feel.
Not 10 was an exaggeration, but I just, no, mentally, no, you are right. You
Cliodhna,
are
wait
right.
till
The technical
my
term
mum
was
hears
bollocks.
this. You're in trouble. You are in trouble.
Eric, your mother's going to be given out to me.
Yeah, you watch. You watch.
She's dead right too.
So topping up, I suppose if I'm like, so say on a Tuesday, I would be down normally to do about a 7-mile run. So tomorrow I'm down to do 3 miles. So that's 4 miles less than what my Tuesday would typically look like. So I'm going to try and run 3 miles and see how my hamstring feels. And if it feels okay, I'll just do what the 3 miles. But there's like, just say if I'm running 8.5-minute miles at 17. So there's 34 minutes running that I'm not doing because I'm only running 3 out of what would normally be 7. So I'll probably come home and put on my bike shoes and hop up on the turbo and cycle then for another 30, 40 minutes, just so that from an aerobic point of view, that stimulus is still there, maintaining the same RPE. So that's kind of what I mean by topping up. So I feel like I'm still doing the same work, but just doing it a little bit differently. If that makes sense. And I suppose the other thing is I'd be confident enough, like when you've cycled a lot and you've done a lot of work on turbos, it's pretty easy to jump back on and to like, you're not going to be, obviously I know people say that cyclists can run really quickly, but that runners don't cycle really quickly. You'd still have enough in your muscle memory and in your fitness bank for now to do what you're trying to do. So it's not like I'm trying to go out and race in a 100-kilometer road race or anything like that. So it should be enough to keep me tipping over, and I would definitely feel that I think psychologically more than anything else, I need to feel that I'm doing something to keep myself on the road. The triathletes, Eric, would find that all the bike transfers over to the run. Like my buddy doesn't run at all. He's a triathlete and he can run a 17.5-minute 5K, and that's all off the bike. So I'd be like, knowing that, I feel, I think it's psychological more than anything else. I need to feel that I'm doing something. And if I don't make it to Dublin, it's not because I was a dumbass and went out and tried to run. You know what I mean? I can't control how injured
Like
it is.
some of your idols, like Seán. Yeah.
I was going to say, that sounds like another shot.
My mom's going to kill you. I know, but there's definitely something to it. And what people who are listening, or maybe who are picking this up, this episode and looking for last minute tips and tricks and what should we do, and maybe picked up injuries, when we're talking about topping up as well, it's about maintaining heart rate in a particular effort. People call it RPE, people call it zones, people call it easy miles, people call it all sorts. But it's about training the body to operate in this endurance element. And that's what you can do with the bike as well, ultimately, while taking the load off the legs as well.
Yeah, and I know the other option is the erg, and the other, the ski erg or your rower. But I think the bike for me is just so handy because I have it set up. So for me, I think that's probably the way to go. And if I mind myself, hopefully I'll be back running within, properly. But it's day by day. I'll see how I go tomorrow, and that'll determine what happens on Wednesday.
Just when you said erg there, the thoughts of going on a ski erg
I
for
know.
35, 40 minutes. Oh my God. That's boring. Now, bike is bad. RPE be easily 13.
Easily
I don't think
30. So, Aoife, how do you stay so injury free? What did you putting in the water
What's the
down there?
secret?
What's the
I'm running.
secret? Because everyone else is crocked except for me and
Curse
you.
hasn't hit her yet.
It's just slower than everyone.
You just
And
stopped
like,
listening to Seán. Sorry, you
yeah,
broke up when you said that.
I think it's just because I'm running slower. I think it's easier on the body to run slower. And like, I know it's like I'm still getting my heart rate up for me, but I think generally the pace I'm doing, maybe I'm superwoman, or maybe it's because I'm slow. But like very, I was talking to and following all the stories on Instagram, and I was like, they're dropping like flies on the last ones. I'm toddling along at my like 6.5 minute kilometer pace. But yeah, I don't know. I think I'm just lucky because I'm doing the miles. I'm not doing the miles Shane's doing, but I am putting in. I had my biggest. I was so proud yesterday when biggest mileage month ever. So like I am putting in miles and I am working as best I can, but I think it's probably just the pace that is easier on the body.
Some say there's two theories to that. Obviously, when you're pushing harder and maximizing, there's a different impact on the body, but you're out there for a hell of a lot longer. So you're putting a lot more impact into those joints and into those everything else. So I think you have to give yourself a little bit of credit because, and I speak for the slower runners who are out there because I've ran pretty slow as well myself many times and I've enjoyed it, but you do feel it in the joints. It's one thing I notice about that's why I have great empathy for people who are doing 5, 6, 7 hour marathons. It's a lot of time on the feet. It's a lot of time out there. It's a lot of calories you need to consume. When we're all, Shane's already at home walking the dog, having his dinner by the time some people are crossing the finish line. So it's a lot more time on the feet, which in itself is a huge ask as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I said on the first episode, I know no different. So that's just the way I do it. Since Cliodhna was talking on the last episode about protein intake, I've like tried to improve that. Now, like good is good enough kind of thing. I'm not top class elite athlete now, but I'm aware now of protein in my diet, which I wasn't like before Cliodhna brought it up. So I'm like trying a bit more of that. I'm, doing the ice baths, getting in the local holy well for a dip every now and then.
That's why you're not injured. You should have started with that, Aoife. Jeez.
How we
Where's
go?
this well? How can I baptize Seán and get rid of his ankle problems?
Patrick's Well in Clonmel is like, you'll just find all the runners there on a Saturday around lunchtime after the long runs. It's like, runner central, everybody getting in Patrick's Well. But it's just really, really cold water. So
I'm out.
a bit of the Epsom salts, the ultra pure Epsom salts does the job. And I just kind of, I don't know, get on with it. Like, don't be a
Did you
baby.
hear that, Cliodhna?
Jesus, Aoife.
Pew, pew, pew.
Get on with it. Shane, see that dizziness? You can stick it up your ass. No, that's Cheryl. I wouldn't put words in Aoife's mouth, but that's what she said.
No, I don't mean that. I just mean I want to be sore. You're going to be tired. You've decided to do a marathon.
Yeah, tell us how you really feel, Aoife. No, we're only joking. We're only joking. We know the rest of them are soft, Aoife. Don't worry, we're all right. Conor, just get on with it, bud.
Yeah, I'll just get on with it.
Now, Aoife, we have made you the common enemy. You watch them all now, tagging you in a run next week. There you go, Aoife. I'm just getting on with it. But no, you are right. It's good that you are. It's amazing what you can pick up even from a group. And it's one thing you touched on there in terms of the protein element. You can pick up fantastic nuggets from people you're training with. Sometimes you can pick up some bad advice as well. Is there anything anyone has picked up and they've kind of gone, that doesn't sound right, or that sounds a little bit like me and Seán with our beetroot juice?
Chicken and rice before a race.
Hold on a minute.
There we go.
Before you
Back
start
at
that,
him.
I know where you're going. You were just told to get on with it. Now get on your bike, keep pedaling them legs, and get on with it. Did anybody get any weird little bits of advice? Because we were told before the start of a marathon, we were in the world of hurt before this marathon even started, but we were told 2 days before that you're drinking the beetroot juice. It does something to the nitrogen. I don't know. We were given some
Capillaries
explanation,
in
but
the
anyway,
blood.
we bought 4 bottles of it. We were sitting there in the house trying to eat lasagna and drinking this beetroot juice, and it was an absolute disaster. I'd rather be with Conor in the bar now than drinking this beetroot juice. Now, there is something to it, of course, but not for these two idiots. So there are all kinds of bits of information out there. You guys have obviously surrounded yourselves with quite good people. Shane, you're in getting coaching. Does obviously having the good advice help, especially in times of panic when you're a little bit ill? How does it work for you in terms of coaching, Shane, and taking on the little bits of nuggets and adding a little bit into each week for you?
Yeah, I suppose like you have to be honest with your coach. Like you have to tell him that you're sick, you're not feeling right. You need to kind of tweak things, and at the end of the day, he's there to give you the advice, and you just need to be honest with him. I think it's the best policy.
Conor, you're not being coached, am I right?
Correct, yeah. I used Garmin. Well, now like it's a program set from a coach that Garmin have that I use for Barcelona, and then this year they have the new adaptive plan that basically is like takes in your data. So I said I'd trial that. Now I've ended up scrapping that because obviously I'm doing a bit more than just running. I do a bit of other sports. Done a bit of high rock session there yesterday, and it would give me, say, like Friday I had planned some interval session. I was looking forward to it. Went to played a bit of social tennis there Thursday night, and then woke up Friday, workout disappeared, and it just said rest day. So I was like, oh, there goes the workout. So scrapped that there and back to the original plan that I done in Barcelona. So I'm just like obviously in the middle of that, like it's like 9 weeks in or whatever. So that's one I'm using, and then that way I can rejig them to sort of suit my week. Do you know, the kind of way, like on the calendar, and they go straight to the watch. So that's what I use. And I know I mentioned it on the last one, but I did get the VO2 testing done to sort of have accurate zones. So I edited them on the Garmin as well, because if I was just using Garmin completely, I probably wouldn't be able for it. Do you know, the kind of way I would have been running way slower than what I need to run in terms of proper zones and stuff like that. So
It's one thing about the adaptive plans, and I tried one again this time, and I mentioned it briefly, and we had our run-ins between me and Garmin and everything else. But when it comes to a marathon, I do find the adaptive plan, because as you said, when I was doing it, I was expecting, okay, I'm looking at the week and it's like, okay, Wednesday is an interval day and Thursday is a steady state, and then Friday is a rest, and then Saturday of hills and Sunday of, and all of a sudden I get to Wednesday and I'm like, oh, right, intervals. And then it's like easy run, 40 minutes. I'm like, well, delighted first of all, but then I'm like, but I built myself up for this, and then work could be busy that day, something else could be going on, and then it's like, oh, I'd rather do this the next day, and it just doesn't offer you the flexibility, because a marathon, as all of you all have various different backgrounds, commitments. You need to have some element of flexibility in the plan, and when you can't see what's coming, now I know the plans you're talking about, Conor. Sometimes in the week, if I'm right, some of the ones I followed, you know that your long runs on a Sunday and it increases by 10 minutes every Sunday, and it's usually time based or heart rate based or whatever. So, but there's predictability to it. Some of the middle sessions might change, but for me, the routine is fantastic, and I can kind of know where my flexibility is in the week. Is that why you prefer it? And is that how you manage your life around your marathon plan as well?
yeah, like so I'd say, you know, that adaptive plan, like you be sort of like Aoife there, just get on with it. Like, yeah, I had a shit sleep, but I need to get this session in. But now the session's disappeared on me and it's telling me to go for a 30-minute easy run or whatever. So yeah, that, like, again, as you said, because you sort of build yourself up, you might have done 2 easy runs already during the week and you're like, right, Wednesday's the day for a big tough session, looking forward to it. And then you wake up and it's like, oh, easy run, or you go to do it and it's something different. Sort of throws you off. But yeah, I like the sort of, like the plan there today. I sort of done it every Monday leading into Barcelona. look at the plan for the week and sort of rejig them to suit, like, say, my couple of cardio runs, try to get the recovery runs done then. But also, I'm not doing an easy run then a recovery run. You know, that kind of way. It's like I try to get the hard session in before the recovery run. Obviously, that's what the recovery run's there for. It's for after the tough stuff. So I'm able to rejig them that way and sort of plan the week a bit better, which sort of suits me. And yeah, I like sort of knowing and then mentally prepare for, general kind of way. So
Shane, if you turn around to Kevin and he said you're just supposed to do intervals down the track today, you went, I went easy, 30 minutes, Kev. How would he react?
I know he's fairly sound. Like, I kind of know at this stage how his plan works, or how my plan works. Like, every Wednesday, Saturday I have a session, Sunday long run, and the other day is easy. So I kind of know what's coming. He just gives me the plan. Like, I know my session day is my long run day, so it's good in that ways where I can kind of plan my week. I kind of know by the gist of it, like how long it's going to take, and I can just start planning as soon as the plan comes out on Sunday.
Same with you, Cliodhna, actually. How does that work with you?
Yeah, so I get a text with all my sessions for the week, but they'd be like, it's very easy to shuffle around because, like, you know, you just don't know what's coming at you. So you kind of, and like everybody else, I know my long run is a Sunday and my session would be a Tuesday or a Wednesday, depending. So you kind of can predict what's going to come, but there's plenty of flexibility within, you know, to swap things around. But I'm pretty by the book with stuff. Like, if I'm told to do something, I'll do it. So I certainly wouldn't go messing around with stuff myself. There's a reason I'm getting it from somebody. So, you know, I'll kind of do what I'm told most of the time. But yeah, no, it's great. It's great. It's really, really handy. And the flexibility is there if I need it, or if I get sick, or if I'm traveling, or, you know what I mean? If the kids, you know, if the kids stuff gets on top of me, there's a bit of flexibility, and I know I can wriggle it around. And he's great. He's very you know, he's on the end of the phone if you need him. So, but I was going to come back to one thing, Eric, you asked there, you know, about advice people give you about marathons. You know, what's really confusing is the shoes. You know, all this talk about marathon shoes and stuff like that. Like, so it's just, there's so much out there, and everybody has, yeah, exactly, Connor, mega bucks. And
Yeah.
everybody has a different opinion, and everybody has a different brand that they like. And it's just so hard to try and figure out, you know, what do you need? What do you not need? So I'm kind of working my way. I'm finding my way, but I know if I was just starting out, trying to figure out what runners to wear on your easy run, what runners should you be wearing on your long run, you know, your long marathon pace runs. What about your speed sessions? Some people say always wear your carbon shoes on your speed sessions so you get used to using them, whereas other people will say don't, save them for the race. So that's something that is really difficult if you listen to everybody who talks about it. I don't know how the rest of you feel, or have you had similar?
I'll double down what Conor just did with the money thing, because carbons for speed training, they're coming out on race day. That's it. Like, they seemingly don't last long. But I did see, we had Barry on a podcast a couple months ago, and he talked about recently his older carbons. He started bringing them back in for speed sessions when he got newer ones, and he said he still got some reaction stuff off them. So maybe that, maybe that kind of thing. I've had one or two bad races. The carbons I got, they're definitely gone at this stage, as opposed to my training not being there. But I personally just have the one runner for most of my sessions, because I don't feel like I'm good enough to have 3-4 different pairs of speed sessions and all the rest. But then I might have carbons there for race days that I feel like this is a race. This is an A race. If it's a B race and I'm not too concerned with time and stuff, I'll wear me Hokas. And the only reason I wear Hokas, and I've said in the podcast, is that I was having calf issues, which, my God, I've said that a lot in the podcast now. It's 5.5 years. But they gave me the Cliftons and stuff for them. I went to the Run Hub years ago, back in 2018, and I liked running the Cliftons, and they felt good. So I'm a creature of habit. Like, I'll go to the restaurant, order the same food all the time. I wear the same runners all the time unless something comes wrong with them. So that's
And he has the same injury all the time.
yeah.
Creature
So
of
maybe I
habit.
should be wearing the Cliftons. Maybe I should be offering advice on this one.
Asics, if you're listening, give us 6 pairs of runners. I have heard so many things, because the science changes every day, because a new person brings out a new kind of shoe with the super demon. Like, obviously the common stuff that's out there is shoes and I definitely believe in this one because I've been a big culprit of this one. There is a certain mileage in shoes, and I have worn mine to the nth degree, like 1,000 kilometers plus easy in some, and I've started to pick up niggles because of it. So I'm probably a little bit more conscious in changing my shoes, or before I get to the point of needing a new pair, I buy another pair and start to wear two different shoes. One, because somebody gave me that piece of advice that if we wear the same shoe all the time, you get very comfortable with it. We alternate between two different shoes, even if they're a comfortable pair. Because to be honest, the carbon, yeah, it's great. It gives you that spring, it saves fatigue, all the things they give you, the lists of why you should spend €100 or the €1,000 on a pair of
And the
shoes.
rest, yeah.
Um, like all those things, that's the science behind it. People paid a lot of money to research this and sell it to us. But for me, from stability point of view, it's always whichever is on sale. I don't care what it is, whichever is a comfortable shoe. And I would cycle through probably 2 or 3 pairs of them so that one doesn't get old too quick and that I don't get used to one too often. And it's something I've started to do, and I've avoided some niggly injuries through that. Now that's just me, and everybody is different. But that's one I've done. Seán got me that pair of them. I won't mention the brand in case the sponsor is next. I got a pair, and my ankles still haven't recovered from racing in them twice. So it's very different. And I think shoes are going to be like nutrition now. I think they always were individual. And I think even more so now, it's going to be trial and error, but it's a very expensive trial. A gel could have a very different embarrassing consequence, but it was very cheap to buy. Whereas a pair of shoes, to find out that they're not great or don't suit you is an expensive consequence. But I do think on that there are some, because it turns it into a very expensive sport then when people are worried about buying carbon plated this and carbon plated that. At the end of the day, I think it's about running, and completing a marathon and getting out and training every day. If you're relying on, this is my opinion, if you're relying on a pair of shoes to get you that PB, then maybe it's worth the investment. And then for me, I'm not winning the race. So do I need the €300 pair of shoes just to tell everyone I ran a sub 3:30? Maybe not. Maybe I should just run faster, train harder, run more. I don't know, but it depends on what your value is in the time. And there is an expense to it. But for me, for the longevity of my joints, the niggles, it's having 2 or 3 pairs of shoes, maybe of different brands, and cycling them all through a training block is what I think is probably the bit of advice that has saved me a few niggles along the way. And maybe people out there disagree completely. But even still, when it comes to the marathon day, I always question, do I wear the carbon ones or do I just stick with the ones I kind of know? So it's different strokes for different folks on the day.
I think I've a bit of advice for people who need stability runners, because I always wear stability runners and they're all the carbon shoes are neutral. So I actually went with a carbon trainer rather than a carbon racer. So they're like half the price as the carbon racers, which is a positive. And they just have that bit more support, even though they're a neutral shoe. They're built for training. So there's just a bit more shoe to it. So it holds you in a bit better. And that has worked well for me. So I'll wear like the normal stability runner for most of the training. And then I'll wear a carbon trainer for race. So it's not like full blown race shoe, but it does give you that little bit extra.
Yeah, it's probably a good place for people to start, particularly stability wise. Because I know for me, wearing the other shoes, I hadn't got the stability in my legs and ankles to manage it. I hadn't trained in them. I hadn't, it was very different. And what you're looking to do is add that little bit of bounce into you to get you around and reduce fatigue. So it's definitely a great place to start, Aoife.
Yeah. And I was debating myself, I'm on the podcast this year, do I spend €300 on the racers? And then I said, no, like they won't work for me. They just wouldn't be stable enough for me. So it would be an absolute waste of money. It would be a disaster probably. And I'm not going fast enough to need them anyway. So yeah, the carbon trainer is like A1 in my opinion.
that not mentioned Eric's shoe. There's definitely very little stability in him. Even do like bodyweight exercises, them like I'm shifting left and right, like I can't even do a basic reverse lunge in them. But Eric, you did give out the Nike Vaporflies on an episode a while back, so you said it by name as well. You
but they weren't
gave, like, you
listening
spent the
then.
whole 10-minute on it.
They weren't listening. Could have got €1 million out of them fucker. And no, Sean, you can't be saying anything.
We've got what 7 weeks to go. From none of you are doing Dublin the next couple of weeks from the half marathon. Shane, you're saying you're building towards a race. Conor, you're not doing a clean. Do any of us have any other races, or is it just now building up? Aoife, you have something.
I'm heading to London.
Another marathon night out on Friday.
I'm heading to London this weekend for the big half. So that's going to be a fun weekend. We're not going to race it, but I can't wait. It's going to be a great weekend. And then I've Kilkenny, the 30K, the following week. I was talking about that. So, yeah, we'll try. I won't try and hold marathon pace for that. Like, I won't be trying to get PB, but just like a solid marathon pace effort in Kilkenny. So, yeah, they're my next 2 weekends.
Between that and jumping into the well, Aoife, I'm going to follow your plan next year for the marathon. And on that note, guys, best of luck with the training. We'll be catching up with you again in a couple of weeks' time. And thank you for spending the last hour or so with myself and Eric. Best luck next couple of weeks. Touch wood, jumping wells, whatever you have to do to stay injury free. And hopefully we'll all make it to the starting line for Dublin Marathon. And that's it for this week's episode of the Any Given Monday podcast. From myself, Shane, Conor, Cliodhna, Aoife, and Eric. Take care.